Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the shadows of 1911 Paris. We're going to uncover the origins of one of fiction's most terrifying and most influential creations, a villain who isn't just a man, he's a nightmare. This is the story of Fantomas.
All right, picture this. It's a cold winter evening out in the French countryside. We're at a fancy dinner party at a chateau. And the conversation turns to this name that's being whispered all over Paris, a name that basically means chaos and fear, Fantomas. A retired magistrate, President Bonnet, says what everyone in the country is thinking with this really desperate plea.
And that right there is the terrifying heart of this story. What if the evil you're fighting isn't just some guy in a mask? What if it's an idea, a phantom that can never really be caught? A force that can wear any face and pull off any crime. What do you do when evil is literally everywhere and nowhere at the same time?
See, before Fantomas is a man, he's more like a ghost story for the rich. He's this intense topic of debate at that dinner party. Is he one guy, a whole gang, or is he just something the newspapers made up? He's a myth, a legend, a scary what-if that people talk about over wine.
And just like that, the debate ends in blood. The what-if becomes a horrifying reality. The Marquise, the woman who was just hosting this conversation, is discovered dead. Her room is a wreck, her desk smashed open. All of a sudden, the Phantom has a body count, and this little parlor game has turned into a brutal murder investigation.
So who or what is this killer? Well, to really get a handle on the genius of Fantomas, you've got to look at his crimes. And what's so fascinating is they show two totally different sides of his evil. One is just simple, savage brutality, and the other is sophisticated, psychological torture.
The murder of the Marquise is just grimly efficient. It's a straightforward, brutal playbook. Get in, corner the victim, kill them, and disappear. It seems almost primal, you know? The kind of work done by a phantom who can just walk through walls and strike with deadly force. But this is only one face of the monster.
So let's shift to his next big crime, because this is where we see the true, chilling artistry of his villainy. This one isn't about a quick murder for money. No, this is about power. It's about fear, and it's about the pure joy he takes in someone else's terror. We're leaving the quiet country chateau and heading to the glamorous Royal Palace Hotel in Paris.
Princess Sonia Danidoff is in her hotel suite, just relaxing in her bath, and suddenly a man is just there, in the room. He didn't break a window or kick down the door, he was just there, and he traps her, totally vulnerable and terrified, with this cold, simple command. The terror here isn't just about the threat of death, it's the violation, the absolute powerlessness she's feeling.
Now, check out his weapon of choice. He pulls out a tiny little razor. He doesn't just threaten to kill her, he threatens to mutilate her, to cut off her finger for a ring she can't get off. He's not just a thief, he's a connoisseur of fear, slowly and methodically just taking apart her composure, and you can tell he's enjoying every single second of her panic.
And his escape? Oh, his escape is a masterpiece of chaos and deception. He doesn't just run, he engineers the perfect cover. He cuts the power, throws the whole hotel into confusion, and then he just changes his appearance and strolls downstairs. And here's the ultimate irony, right? The hotel manager actually orders the disguised Fantomas to go find the police. The criminal walks calmly right out the front door, sent on his way by his own victims. It's audacious, it's brilliant, and it is pure Fantomas.
So, when you have a criminal this extraordinary, an ordinary policeman just isn't going to cut it. The chaos of Fantomas can only be met by an equal and opposite force of order. And that's when Inspector Jouve of the Sûreté steps in. He's the only man in France who sees Fantomas not as some phantom, but as a puzzle that he is determined to solve.
Let's go back to the Marquise's murder. Everyone else sees a forced entry, a broken lock, but Jouve sees the details. The socket for the bolt isn't ripped out of the wall. The screw heads have these tiny scratches on them, which means they were unscrewed, not torn out. His conclusion is instant, and it's spot on. The killer didn't break in, he had a key. This isn't just a brute, it's a planner.
And so the whole story becomes this epic duel between two absolute masters of their craft. You've got Fantomas, the shapeshifter who creates chaos by becoming anyone he wants. And then you've got Jouve, the master of logic who restores order by seeing right through those disguises. It's the classic, timeless battle, the brilliant criminal versus the brilliant detective.
So Juve follows the clues, and his deductions eventually lead him to this guy named Gurn. And in Gurn's apartment, they make a horrifying discovery. There's a trunk, and inside is the body of Lord Beltham, a man who was connected to that very first dinner party conversation. It looks like the case is solved. Gurn is arrested. The monster has finally been caught, right? Or has he?
This is where the story goes from a great crime thriller to an absolute legend. With Gurn, who everyone thinks is Fantomas, sitting on death row waiting for his execution, the real Fantomas is about to pull off his greatest trick ever. He's not just going to escape, he's going to steal another man's death.
Okay, let's just break this down, because the timeline is just chillingly brilliant. Fantomas targets this actor, Valgrand, who's famous for playing the murderer Gurn on stage. He uses a fake fan letter as bait, lures the actor, still in costume, to a house right across from the prison. There, he's drugged. In the middle of the night, corrupt guards make the switch. The real killer walks out a free man, leaving an innocent, unconscious actor to take his place in the condemned cell.
You can just feel the sheer horror of this whole situation in these words from Fantomas' accomplice, Lady Beltham. She hears the desperate, fading cries of this innocent man as he's dragged back to the prison, his entire identity just stripped away. He knows who he is, but nobody believes him. He's actually become the monster he was only pretending to be.
And this is the truly dark genius of the plan. Outside the prison walls, a crowd is gathering. It's like a party. They're singing, they're drinking, they're all waiting to see the monster Gurn pay for his crimes. They think they're celebrating justice. But inside, an innocent man is trapped in a nightmare he can't wake up from.
Can you even imagine his terror? Valgrand, the actor, he's still confused, groggy from the drugs. He tries to protest, to say, "I'm not Gurn," but the words just won't come out right. To the guards, to the executioner, he's just another coward, babbling nonsense before the end. His reality has been completely and totally erased.
And there's no last-minute rescue. Juve doesn't swoop in and save the day. The story ends with this cold, hard, brutal truth. The blade falls. The crowd cheers for a justice that was never served. And Fantomas, the Lord of Chaos, is free, having just committed the perfect murder. The murder of an identity.
So, okay, a bad guy from a pulp novel written back in 1911 gets away with it. Why should we care? Why does this century-old story still have such a grip on our imagination? Because Fantomas didn't just escape from prison. He escaped the pages of his book and basically created the DNA of the modern supervillain.
This is the blueprint that Fantomas created. Just think about these core elements. A master of disguise who can be anyone, anywhere. An agent of pure chaos who commits crimes not just for money, but for the love of anarchy itself. A sadist who gets genuine pleasure from the psychological terror of his victims. He's the dark shadow that gives the hero a reason to exist. This isn't just one character. It's the genetic code of the modern supervillain. From Sherlock Holmes' arch-nemesis Professor Moriarty to Batman's chaotic opposite, the Joker, almost every great villain that came after owes a huge debt to the genius of Fantomas.
And that's the final, unsettling thought to leave you with. Fantomas represents a kind of evil that you can't easily explain. It doesn't have one single face, it doesn't have a clear motive, and it thrives on chaos. He is the fear of an enemy who could be anyone, the terror that strikes out of nowhere, the chilling idea that the systems we trust can be twisted into instruments of pure horror. So the real question isn't just who Fantomas was, but what he is, and whether that force has ever really been captured at all.